Populations and samples. Let's consider that LJHS is trying to determine if they should shorten lunch and eliminate recess next school year. Who should we survey about this and why? By the way, this is not true. It's not happening. So some vocabulary. If we're going to conduct a survey, we need to consider our population. So your population is that entire group of people or objects that you want to know about. So for our lunch situation, our population would be all of our LJHS students. Now it's impossible to survey every single Lincoln student. So what we would need to do is to survey a sample, just part of the population. So an example would be just surveying 7th grade students. So again, your sample is just part of your population. So just think about it when you're at a store, right? Samples. That sample that you get is just part of that whole amount of food that they have. So identify the population in the sample. You have the students in a school and the students in a math class. Which one is your population? Which one is your sample? All right, the students in a school is everybody, that's your population. The students in the math class is just some of them, that's just a sample. You want to know the number of students in your school who read some of the newspaper at least once a week. You survey 30 random students that you meet in the hallway between classes. What is the sample? All right, well, your population is all the students in the school, but you can't survey all of them, so you just do a sample. So your sample is just those 30 students in the hall. Which scenario would you need to survey a sample and why? So you want to know the average weight of the members of your family. Would you need to survey a sample? Or B, you want to know the number of grocery stores in Florida that carry your favorite cereal. Which one would you need to survey a sample? All right, you'd have to survey a sample for the cereal situation. There is no way that you could survey the entire population, all the grocery stores. Whereas with A, you can actually survey the population. The population is just the members of your family. So that shouldn't be that many people. So you don't need to survey a sample for the weight problem. So let's look at unbiased and biased samples. These are types of samples. Some samples are better than others. Unbiased samples are good. All right, they are selected so that your entire population is represented, right? And it's large enough to provide accurate data. Biased samples are bad, all right? They're selected so that just parts of your population are favored or considered over others. And sometimes biased samples are just too small. You don't survey enough people. So types of unbiased samples. An unbiased sample, which is good, is a random sample. That's a sample in which every member of your population has an equal chance of being selected. So for example, in our lunch situation, right, if we were to ask 50 random 6th and 7th graders, that's a random sample. A biased sample, remember biased is bad. One biased sample is a convenience sample. That's when you are surveying people who are easily accessed, right? It's just easy to get to them. So for example, if we were to ask only 8th graders in the LC one morning about our shortening lunch situation, right? That's convenient. 8th graders tend to be in the LC. The other problem is with the 8th graders, they're not going to be at Lincoln next year, right? So they don't represent all of our Lincoln students. A voluntary sample is one that your participants are choosing to participate, right? They're volunteering. So for example, posting a Google form survey on Canvas, right? People don't have to do it. It's just the people that maybe want to shorten lunch or don't want to shorten lunch. Those are the people that are going to go on there and do it. So it's a biased sample. So let's decide if samples are biased or not. So Mr. Gaskin randomly surveyed 20 students from each grade level to determine whether or not Lincoln should get a new Coca-Cola vending machine. So is that biased or unbiased? This would be unbiased. It's a random sample. He asked random kids from every grade level. So that would represent all students at Lincoln. All right, some of you might think, well, what about the teachers? We don't care. We already have a Coke machine. All right. So to determine the number of umbrellas the average household in the U.S. owns, a survey of 100 randomly selected households in Arizona is conducted. Biased or unbiased? This would be biased. It's convenient, right? Arizona doesn't represent all of our states. Plus, it doesn't really rain much in Arizona, so they're not a good sample. You want to estimate the number of students in your school who want a football stadium to be built. You survey the first 20 students who attend a Friday night football game. Biased or unbiased? This would be biased. It's convenient again, right? So you're only asking those 20 kids that come in. So we would assume that students attending a football game would probably support the building of a new stadium. Plus, those people don't represent all of the students at a school. You want to estimate the number of students in your school who walk to school. You post a Google Form survey on the LJHS website and ask kids to fill it out. Biased or unbiased? This would be biased. It's a voluntary response, right? Students are choosing to fill it out. It's voluntary. You're not going to get accurate results. You want to estimate the number of 7th grade students in your school who consider it relaxing to listen to music. You randomly survey 15 members of the band. Your friend surveys every 5th student whose name appears on an alphabetical list of 7th graders. Which sample is unbiased? Well, your sample is biased. It's convenient, right? We would assume people in band would listen to music often. They don't represent all of our students, which means your friend's situation is unbiased, all right? They represent all students. Unfortunately, it's very easy to create biased samples, which is why they are so common. And it's very important to consider the sample when you are reading and analyzing survey results.